Okay, so there's actually no notes today. We're just going to have a little chat and we're going to kind of set you guys up for the rest of the week. So we're into our last topic, which is budget planning and budget analysis. Um, Essentially, a budget is exactly like what you think it is. It's knowing how much money you have coming in, knowing your expenditures, and knowing how much money you have going out, and making sure that the money in, at the very least, matches the money out. Ideally, you have more money coming in than you have money going out. Okay, so it's just looking at what kind of things affect businesses. So just to read through this together, so it's a formal financial and operating plan for a business for a fiscal period. So the reason from a business standpoint why you want to have a formal budget is if mainly in the cases where you need to borrow money. So if you need to get a loan from the bank because you want to purchase a new truck for the business, or you want to get a loan if you're a farmer and you want to buy more land or new machinery. So banks use a formula of 5 to 1. What that means is that your debts can't be more than 5 times your profits. So they let you go into debt 500%. Yeah. Because the thing is, when you sign a loan with the bank, you sign over asset acquisition. So if you default on that loan, so in other words, if you can't pay it back, they get to seize your farm and every asset on that farm. So they are covered. They're getting their money back. So they are willing to lend you money no matter what. So as a business, you want to make sure that you're always in that, let's say, 5 to 1 ratio, that you're always in that. The better the ratio you have, the better loan rates you get. So that means you're not as a higher risk for defaulting on your loan, you're better chances. Well, these financial statements tell them what your assets, liabilities, and capital are. So when we look at developing these budgets, there's short-term budgets and long-term budgets. So a short-term budget is something you do usually on a month-to-month basis. It's mainly looking at your revenue and expenses, like money in versus money out. Are you making more money than you're spending? A long-term budget typically goes to a full year. It's used to see how the company is performing year over year. So like last year, if I made 27% profit, but the year before I made 12% profit, what did I do? What changed? What made it grow? If you've ever watched Dragon's Den on television, they always ask them their profit year to year. They want to know, are they growing or are they shrinking? So to create a good budget, we look at past spending and profits. We look at trends, seeing what's popular and what may be popular needed in the future. And we rely on excellent staff who is paying attention to their costs. So essentially, it's a team effort. So it's not just about looking at money in versus money out. We also look at the future ways of making money. We look at like the trends on social media. We look at buying habits of our clients. Um, I'll use a fashion example. So the average size of a female in North America is a size 12. So when they're placing an order for new shirts or new hoodies, they want to make sure they have the biggest number that they order is a size 12. So they want to order like 20 size 12s and only 2 size 8s because most of the women that they're ordering for is a size 12. So using those trends and using that analysis, because you don't want to end up with a whole bunch of extra stock that you can't sell. Okay. And then using staff to make sure that staff aren't randomly spending things that they shouldn't be. Okay, that everybody is paying attention to how much they're spending. So a couple of questions we'll do together. So it says Company A has established a budget for the upcoming year. During the second month of the budget, Company B establishes a competitive business in the same area. So you open up a food truck, and your food truck sells hamburgers and fries and dirty sodas. Okay, that's what you do. You're the only one in town. Another food truck opens up, selling the exact same things as you. How is that going to affect your business? What would that do? Okay. Well, you might have less sales, right? Because now you're going to compete with them. Because you have less sales, you might have to drop the price of your products, right? To make yourself now more competitive than them. You might have to fire some staff because you're not as busy anymore because now your work is being separated between two people. Well, if you have less sales, then you're going to order less food. But you don't want to order so much less that now you have nothing to sell, right? It's that balancing act. But typically, when something opens up and it's doing the exact same thing as you, you're going to have to change gears, right? Whether that be lowering prices. Maybe you have a sales every now and again. So I think of like the nurseries in town. So there's Sunnyside Nursery, there's Country Blooms kind of by Coaldale, and then there's Greenhaven and Lethbridge. Each one of those has a customer day, one day a month, where you get 10% off. They all have it on a different day of the week so that they don't compete with each other. So that way they all bring in people. So like Tabor's Savings Day is the first Tuesday of every month. Country Blooms is the first Wednesday of every month. Greenhaven is the first Thursday of every month. They make it so that that day of the week they're not competing with each other. They're bringing people in from other places to shop there because that's when they can get the best price. So they have created this situation that even though they're competitive, they're still bringing people in because they're offering their sale price on a different day than some of the other companies. Okay. Second question. After establishing the budget for the year, Company A discovers that it is eligible for a government grant in the amount of $100,000. What effect would this have on the budget? Well, clearly, it's going to increase it, right? Now, typically with government grants, there's strings attached. So they say you have to do it, you have to spend that money on certain things. So maybe you do a capital purchase. So a capital purchase is purchasing something specifically for the company. So maybe you buy new cash registers. Maybe you buy that new stove that cooks things faster, or the new deep fryer in your food truck. You could also maybe use it to hire more staff. You could also run it to do an ad campaign, whether that be traditional or whether it be on social media. Takes money, right? And by doing more advertising, you're going to increase your sales and all that. But typically, money into the company is never a bad thing because you're going to turn around and put it back into the company. When COVID happened, the government was handing out money left, right, and center. When COVID happened, they were giving every single business $60,000, no strings attached. You could use that $60,000 to spend it on anything you want, and they said, don't worry about paying it back, we'll call for it later. Well, when they finally got around to calling for it, it was 5 years later, so they just called for it back this year, and you only have to pay back half of it, and they gave you the other half for free. And the half that you pay back has no interest. So if you took advantage of that 60,000, you got to do with it whatever you wanted to, you only have to pay back 30. That's a government grant. Now, how they can do that, I have no idea. We took full advantage of it. We used it actually to pay our kids' tuitions because they were both going into farm programs. So we literally covered their tuitions with this farm grant that we got, and there was no strings attached, and we only have to pay back 30 grand. So we essentially, one of them, their education was for free because we got to keep 30,000 of it. Winner, winner, chicken dinner on that one. And so it was a good news. But the idea that there's many things that influence your budget, that's the important piece here. So the assignment for this is super simple, but it is a little different than what it is on here. So I just want to go through it with you. So if you go on to project 4, you're going to go to number 9, budget planning. And it's a full Google Doc. So you're going to make a copy of this. But I want you to skip over question 1 and question 2. All you're going to do is question number 3. So question number 3 just says, Simone has operated a computing business from her home for the past 3 years. She produces financial statements for companies, prepares reports, designs brochures, and creates business cards. Simone has seen a 20% growth in her business each year and is now planning her budget for the upcoming year. The following chart lists some factors that may affect Simone's business. Determine whether the factors will have a negative effect, positive effect, no effect, or an unknown effect on Simone. Indicate your answer in the table below. So there's a table that goes on to the next page as well. So I'll just do the first one with you. It says Simone has received a small business award from the Chamber of Commerce. Do you think that would have a positive, negative, no effect, or unknown effect? Positive. So you're just going to like put a check in that box or an X or whatever, or highlight it, or I don't care. Okay? So you're just going to fill in that chart with whatever you need to do. Ignore the summary, that doesn't matter. So it's a super short assignment today. You can get it done in a couple minutes. Tomorrow, we're going to be back in here. Bring a calculator with you tomorrow because tomorrow is the mathy day. If you don't have a calculator, use your phone. But tomorrow, we're going to be actually doing some budgets, like creating budgets and doing that. So it's multiplying by percents and that kind of thing. So it's the mathiest thing that we've done all year. Okay? So fill in this chart, like copy and paste it, share it with me when you're done, email it to me, and then you're good to go for the day. Okay? All right, we'll see you then. I'll meet you down there.